Hey guys, here's a short track guide for the 6 hours of Watkins Glen in the P217. Now before we get to the hot lap, I just wanted to give you some setup and track information. The most important part of the setup that I'm using is the fact that we're using a tall gear ratio, and that allows us to not max out on the straightaways during a hot lap, and it also allows us to be able to pass during the race. So I feel like that's the most important part you want to use when making a setup here. And for this hot lap, I'm using track temperature of 122 degrees, air temperature of 81 degrees, and also a track usage of 56%. So for this track guide, I'm going to show you the hot lap in full speed, and then I'm going to analyze the lap in slow motion from a few different angles. Enjoy. And now I'm going to analyze the lap in slow motion. So as we come to start our lap here, we're just getting back to full throttle pretty early to get a nice exit out of the final corner. And we're just looking down the straight, just making sure we get our shift points right as we come to the finish line. Should be start of fifth gear through here, and I'm going to slow down to quarter speed. That way we can look at our mark boards or braking signs on the left hand side. We see the 300, then we see the 200. We're going to be braking just after the 200 or a little bit before or after, depending on your fuel load, down to third, initially waiting a little bit later for second gear. And this is a really easy place to get a 1x. You don't really want to hit the very inside part of the curb, or else it'll unstabilize the car. And you want to try to use as much of this curbing as possible. I actually leave a lot of extra out there, but with X's being so, I think you only get 35 for the 6 hours. You really got to be got to be focused on when you actually collect those. So you don't want to run too wide out of there, getting back to gas early, and then you're basically full throttle through these S's here. So I'm just trying to hold like the tightest line I can to the right hand side. When you're in traffic, maybe following a bunch of other cars, you might get a bit dirty air through here, so it's important to turn in early, trying to just hold that red and yellow curb on the left hand side, and then using up all the track as you straighten out the wheel, bring the car back over to the right hand side and just holding the inside curb through here. So we're going to go back to half speed. As we continue down this long straight, you can see as we're just shifting up to sixth gear, we have all this extra rev range for drafting, so you won't max out at all, no worries through here. And then the bus stop we can take pretty fast actually. So we're looking at the left hand side. We're not going to be using any of these boards. We're going to be using this sign as a reference, this like orange mark. We're not going to be braking there, but that's kind of our turn in point a bit. And then a tap of the brakes through here, downshift to fifth, then a downshift to fourth. Big bump over those curves. You got to turn in early because you could understeer through here depending on if you're going a little bit too fast. So that's definitely something you just got to figure out on terms of the handling of the car, how fast it can handle going through the bus stop. And then this approach to the carousel doesn't seem too important, but I feel it's one of the most important corners of the track because you can take this quite fast. You don't have to start slowing down that early. You can like partial throttle through fourth gear through here, and then late small breakdown into third. I feel a lot of people slow down a little bit too early through there. It's just more about the line as it is through the next few corners through here. Getting back to full throttle in third pretty early, using up all the track on the left-hand side here. You got a lot of runoff that you could use in case you run wide. A lot of that, none of that's grass, so it's really nice. And then we got a really nice reference point for this left-hander up ahead. You can see that the blue wall is coming, but then it kind of comes to a point and then starts to back out. Start like right there. This is like the point where it's closest to us, and then it starts winding out. That's kind of my reference point for where to brake. So right as it's closest to us, getting on the brakes, down to fourth, down to third, around 30% or 50% braking, trailing off down to second through here. Super important to just hug this curve. Just that line's gonna be more important than anything. Patient getting on the throttle. Very easy to understeer in the middle through here, and then having to get off, killing your run on the exit. So mostly focusing on just getting a good exit out of here and holding that inside curve as you're going down the straight here, up to fourth and up to fifth near at the end. Looking at the left-hand side, braking kind of like at the 150 or so, right in between the 200 and the 100, down to like 60% brake pressure, and then you want to trail really late into this corner because you can either hug it early here, try to like go wide and then cut back because it's almost like a double apex in a way. The fact that like the banking starts to fall away, and if you just stay out wide, you're gonna have to let off, or if you kind of try to turn in late, you're gonna can get unstable. So yeah, hugging is like one of the safest approaches through that corner. And then we're probably coming up to one of the more challenging corners, at least handling wise. Um, Shifting up to fourth gear and then getting up to fifth at the very end of the straight, looking on the left hand side, braking right after like this second Zippo sign around the 200s or so, down to 60, pretty hard braking actually, 75% or so down to third gear, late downshift to second. Then you got a choice for how wide you want to run through here. I'm waiting pretty late to get on the throttle, but if you get on full throttle pretty early with all that steering input, your rears get really slidey and you can get a lot of oversteer and then having to counter steer on exits. So I use up a bit of the extra runoff area just to not have to use that much wheel input. That's probably where you're going to lose most time. Not the exit itself, but the counter steer if you overdrive the exit. So downshifting to second for this left-hander through here. Again, just holding this line through here. It's more about the line than it is like the speed you're taking in through here, and see a little bit oversteer on exit. And then as we're shifting up to third for these last two corners, this next one you really want to just try to take as fast as you can, but nailing this inside curve. If you have to partial throttle it off to hit it, that's fine. Another easy place to get a 1x if you run too wide through here. You can manage to escape without a 1x. Then going to this final corner, downshifting to fourth, and sometimes you can be cautious to third if you don't want to worry about hitting the wall on exit. Turning in early, trying to get a touch of that curve through there. Getting back on the throttle really early. I had to let off a little bit through there, using up all the curbing on exit. And that's a lap around Watkins Glen. So I'd say the biggest things to focus on is just minimizing the 1x's at turn 1. Those can really build up fast. And just holding a tight line through like the boot section. That's area where you can lose probably the most time, just in those mid-speed corners. Now I'm just going to show the lap in slow motion and chase view so I can kind of point out a few things. So just looking at the line through here, you can kind of see it a bit better now the whole car's visible. But you can see getting this first part of the curb just about up to the seam, that's about safe. But anything further over to the right is a bit dangerous. So then just using up all the curbing, you can probably get like as long as your right sides are on this curb, you'll probably be fine without a 1x. So as long as you have two tires, you'll be safe. And then turning in here again, you can see how close we end up getting to this wall. Really easy to hit it, but clobbering this curb at this angle allows you to get a wide turn in to this left-hander, so you're not having to understeer as much. So just getting as wide of an approach to that really helps maintain your apex speed throughout. Trying to bring the car over to the left-hand side as far as we can. That way we can turn in without that much of a tight angle. You can see how late in the corner we are holding the throttle and just getting back to the gas. But basically as we pass that, like that sign, that's kind of when we're getting back to throttle. So getting back as soon as you can. Again, focusing on these exits. This is a nice passing opportunity, even though it doesn't look like it. I'd say the main straight into the bus stop is probably the best, or the front straightaway, but this one is deceiving. Sometimes guys on older tires can be sliding around and you can go on the inside, or even catching like other classes in traffic. This is a good overtaking spot, so just practice what it's like driving into this corner on the inside and just holding that inside line. You can kind of see where you could drive, maybe like in this lane higher and then cutting back around here. I just feel like it tightens up a little bit there and the banking starts to fall off, so staying a bit wider late is really going to hurt you, but if you maybe go a bit wide on entry, that's another optional line to take through there. Really easy mistake to make. You can see how close we get to the grass. If we get in the grass there, the car can drift, just get clipping a bit of the dirt and the grass. So gotta be cautious of how wide you end up going there. You can easily overdo it, but the farther you go, the earlier you can get back onto the gas for the final corner. So it's just about risk and reward here. So that was the track guide for the Watkins Glen, and that was a 1:32.5 lap time. Hopefully this lap guide was helpful. I wish you guys luck in your 6 hours of Watkins Glen. Main key is just surviving traffic. I mean, you do catch a lot of traffic here. There's a short track and a lot of medium speed corners, so just as long as you can kind of survive those 6 hours, I think you'll do well as possible, but hopefully this lap guide will be helpful at least for your qualifying runs. Anyways, thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed.